The new trailer for Spider-Man Brand New Day has finally arrived, and it looks absolutely incredible. Spider-Man is clearly going out of control. Bruce Banner has transformed into a savage Hulk, and Spider-Man is having a brutal showdown with a group of ninjas. While the previous trailer left many things unclear, this one reveals a lot more about what's really happening. Let's break it all down. The trailer wastes no time with explanations and jumps straight into the action. We see Spider-Man swinging in from a distance, only to crash into a boat belonging to Jen's Pizza, while Scorpion stands below holding DODC agent hostage. Right from this moment, it becomes obvious that Spider-Man no longer has full control over his powers. We've seen the MCU Spider-Man swing effortlessly using his spider sense, so the fact that he's suddenly crashing into things is a major sign that something is changing inside him. He lands awkwardly on a car. In the next shot, Scorpion attacks him with his mechanical stinger, a strike Spider-Man fails to dodge. As mentioned before, his powers seem to be malfunctioning. However, moments later, we get a close-up shot of Peter's eyes inside the mask, and they have turned completely black. In the previous trailer, we were shown a point-of-view shot from inside Spider-Man's mask. Many fans wondered why director Destin Daniel Cretton chose to show us that perspective. Now it's becoming clear. The POV inside the mask appears to be the visual cue that tells us when Spider-Man is losing control of himself. As soon as Peter's eyes darken, he enters a much darker state and viciously attacks Scorpion. He grabs him by the throat, slams him into the ground, and then hurls him into a moving vehicle. Poor Matt Gargan once thought that the next time he met Spider-Man, he wouldn't let him get away. But now he's the one who can't escape. Spider-Man losing control is a very dangerous situation. We've already seen how powerful Peter Parker really is. In Civil War, he stopped Bucky's metal arm with ease. In Homecoming, he held together a massive ferry. In Infinity War, he rescued Iron Man from Cull Obsidian. Spider-Man has always been incredibly powerful, but he constantly holds himself back to avoid seriously hurting people. Now, with those dark eyes and this aggressive behavior, it looks like he's no longer restraining himself. For the criminals of New York, this is terrifying. Spider-Man might be the type of guy who says, "Call an ambulance," but not for me. The trailer also shows Peter secretly following the lives of his old friends. He's watching Ned's reels and keeping up with the people who no longer remember him. This confirms that Peter hasn't truly moved on from the events of No Way Home. The emotional damage is still affecting him, and the trailer hints that he will pay a price for it when a mind-controlling villain begins invading his thoughts and exploiting his emotional weaknesses. We then see Peter putting on his web shooters, only for organic webs to suddenly burst from his hands and knock the devices away. This is a huge confirmation that Spider-Man has unlocked organic webbing, just like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. However, he's not only inheriting Tobey's powers, he's also experiencing similar problems. In Spider-Man 2, Tobey's Peter Parker went through major physical and emotional changes, and in No Way Home, he even told Tom Holland's Peter about the existential crisis that caused him to lose control of his webbing. Here, the organic webbing seems to symbolize a kind of spider puberty, showing that Peter is undergoing a dramatic mutation. The problem is that he doesn't fully control these new abilities. We even see moments where webs erupt uncontrollably from his body. While he may use this power against the ninjas, the way it manifests is definitely strange and unsettling. But organic webbing isn't the real issue. In fact, it actually solves one of Spider-Man's long-standing problems by removing the need to constantly refill web cartridges. The real problem is that Peter is losing control of himself. This could unleash a completely different kind of monster, and Peter knows that someone else has already gone through a similar struggle, Bruce Banner. That's why Peter seeks Bruce's help. Bruce shows Peter an inhibitor device that helps suppress the Hulk and allows him to maintain a controlled transformation as Smart Hulk. Peter wants something similar for himself. He explains that he needs to keep the worst parts of his mutation under control, while still benefiting from the positive aspects. He wants to retain his new powers without becoming a danger to everyone around him. Knowing how intelligent Peter Parker is, he'll probably build his own inhibitor device. But the bigger question remains: what happens if that device fails or is removed? Peter is likely going to discover the answer the hard way. The trailer continues to show Peter struggling with his powers. He crashes into flocks of pigeons that stick to him, bumps into water tanks, and even accidentally ruins a wedding by smashing through the celebration and destroying the wedding cake. Interestingly, the pigeon scenes may contain a subtle reference to Spider-Man's control over his abilities. In Spider-Man: Into the Spider-Verse, Miles Morales initially struggled with his powers and accidentally stuck to pigeons. Later, in Across the Spider-Verse, he had mastered his abilities and effortlessly avoided them. Here, Peter getting covered in pigeons suggests that he, too, has lost control. The wedding sequence seems particularly important because it connects directly to the mind-controlling villain played by Sadie Sink. In one shot, she appears to be controlling a helicopter pilot. The helicopter was likely meant to carry the newlyweds away after the ceremony, as indicated by the just married sign on it. This entire sequence is probably going to play a major role later in the film. Bruce Banner eventually realizes that Peter's situation isn't as simple as it seems. He raises an important question. Who gets to decide which parts of a person's nature are good and which are bad? Bruce understands this better than anyone. The Hulk has often felt like a curse, yet that same Hulk has saved New York, defeated Ultron's forces, and protected the people of Asgard. This raises an interesting possibility. What if Spider-Man's loss of control isn't entirely a bad thing? After all, his more aggressive side seems to be exactly what allows him to fight the ninjas and survive the dangers ahead. The trailer also includes more footage of the armored tank battle scene previously and makes one thing crystal clear. This movie is packed with action. Just from the trailer alone, we have the Scorpion fight, the armored tank battle, Spider-Man versus Hulk, the ninja fight, and Spider-Man taking on DODC agents. That's already 5 major action sequences before the movie has even released. Later, we're introduced to William Metzger, the director of the DODC, played by Trammell Tillman. The fact that he's calmly talking to Spider-Man suggests that their relationship has improved significantly. This makes sense because, by the end of the trailer, DODC agents appear to be fighting alongside Spider-Man rather than against him. It looks like the two sides have reached some kind of understanding. Metzger then explains the threat posed by Sadie Sink's mysterious character. According to him, she represents a danger that cannot be controlled and cannot even be seen. This ties into the power we glimpsed in the previous trailer, her ability to jump from one person's consciousness into another's. Rather than physically attacking her enemies, she appears capable of invading minds, manipulating thoughts, and taking control of other people. If that's true, she may become one of the most dangerous villains Spider-Man has ever faced. A dark, hooded Sadie Sink can be seen, most likely inside Peter Parker's apartment, where she appears to be controlling people with her powers. This seems to be the cause of the destruction involving the armored tank, but there's something even bigger happening. We see a mysterious wave spreading across one of New York's islands. At first, it seemed like the shock wave might have been caused by Spider-Man and Hulk clashing, but later we see it traveling through crowds of people across New York. As the wave passes through them, something strange happens. They appear unable to control their own minds and are left standing frozen. Meanwhile, Frank Castle, the Punisher, moves through the crowd unaffected. At the same time, we hear Metzger's voice in the background saying that Spider-Man is the only one immune to this problem. This means Sadie Sink's powers have no effect on him, perhaps because of his spider powers or the mutations currently happening within him. Going back to that wave, it feels like it could be Sadie Sink's character's ultimate move, affecting the entire population of New York at once. Maybe this could even lead to a situation similar to the Spider Island storyline, where everyone in New York gains spider powers. For now, though, it's too early to say. Meanwhile, Spider-Man is trying to track down this mind-controlling villain. Using his AI systems, he begins figuring out how she jumps from one person's consciousness to another. The AI may be analyzing sudden movements, spider sense reactions, or complex calculations to help Peter identify her path. We previously discussed this AI in the breakdown of the film's opening sequence. Eventually, the villain jumps from person to person until she reaches a helicopter pilot, forcing Spider-Man to chase the helicopter through the city. This may be the villain's biggest problem. She simply can't escape Spider-Man. During this chase, she possibly taunts Peter by asking whether he has managed to escape the monster inside himself before she heads off to find MJ. That raises an important question. What exactly does she mean by monster? Have Peter's mutations transformed him into something dangerous? Or is she referring to the darker, more violent side of his personality? Whatever the case, we know Peter takes any threat involving MJ very seriously. We saw that in Spider-Man No Way Home when Dr. Octopus mentioned MJ, and Peter immediately became aggressive. It's also possible that this mind-controlling villain discovers how Doctor Strange erased Peter Parker's identity from the world's memory. If that happens, it would be extremely dangerous for Spider-Man. To keep MJ safe, Peter eventually takes her to Frank Castle. Ironically, the only person he can rely on is the Punisher himself. One reason Peter chooses Frank is because the wave affecting New York citizens appears to have no effect on him. Another reason is that Spider-Man doesn't know Frank well enough for the villain to easily use that connection against him. Peter hopes that by leaving MJ with Frank, the mind-controlling villain won't be able to reach her. The trailer then shifts to the Hulk vs. Spider-Man storyline. As mentioned earlier, Sadie Sink's character can't shake Spider-Man off her trail, so she eventually goes after Bruce Banner and removes his inhibitor device. Peter is already considering building an inhibitor of his own, but this moment shows him exactly what can happen when such a device fails. Hulk appears before Spider-Man, looking larger than ever. Peter even comments that he didn't realize Hulk could become that big. Several reports suggest that this isn't Smart Hulk at all, but Savage Hulk. Bruce has apparently been suppressing the Hulk for so long with the inhibitor that removing it unleashes an even more powerful version. Watching Spider-Man figure out how to deal with Savage Hulk should be fascinating. For now, the scene of Spider-Man desperately escaping one of Hulk's thunderous claps feels incredibly meme-worthy. Peter may even have to follow the same strategy Tony Stark used in Age of Ultron to calm Hulk down. The trailer also revisits Ned and MJ's party. Peter eventually realizes that Ned has been actively investigating Spider-Man's true identity. Sony even released a promotional video in which Ned explains his Spider Tracker application during one of his online talks. At the party, Peter notices several clues. One article mentions a Parker prodigy named Carlos Rodriguez, making Ned suspect him because Spider-Man is constantly jumping around the city. On a nearby page, Ned has written down Spider-Man's characteristics. Male, between 18 and 25 years old, possibly white. First appeared in 2016 and has an accent similar to someone from Queens, New York. Surprisingly, Ned's deductions are remarkably accurate. He even estimates Spider-Man's height as 5 feet 7.5 inches, which happens to be Tom Holland's actual height. Ned is getting dangerously close to uncovering the truth. Peter also meets MJ and notices her boyfriend. Ned watches their interaction and asks whether the two of them know each other. The reason he asks is simple. He doesn't know Peter himself, so he's wondering why Peter was invited to the party at all. The answer was hinted at in earlier promotional material. Later, we hear Aunt May's voice in the background saying that everything will be scary, but the people who love Peter do so because he is himself, and he should never forget that no matter how powerful he becomes. Since Aunt May is gone, the obvious question is, where is this dialogue coming from? One possibility is that Sadie Sink's character uses her mind control abilities to force Peter to relive this memory. It sounds like a conversation Aunt May have had after learning about Peter's powers. Regardless, it's a powerful and emotional line. During this sequence, Spider-Man comes to rescue MJ, and she immediately trusts him. That moment suggests that while Peter Parker may have been erased from her memory, Spider-Man himself was never forgotten. We then get a fantastic visual of Peter falling while wearing his hoodie. The scene hints that the changes happening inside him are causing him to black out or lose awareness of his actions. He may not always know what he's doing or how he ended up somewhere. Something similar happened to Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man in Spider-Man 3. If that's what's happening here, then perhaps these mutations are connected to the Venom symbiote. Nothing is confirmed yet, but Peter's darkened eyes certainly feel like a Venom-related clue. Maybe that's the movie's biggest secret. Later, MJ asks Frank Castle if he's really going to let Peter go alone. This strongly hints that we'll see a team-up during the final battle. Then the trailer introduces the ninjas. These aren't ordinary ninjas either. They wield not only katanas, but also advanced electrical weapons capable of shocking Spider-Man during combat. They're so skilled that they even manage to unmask him. One particular shot of Spider-Man standing in a combat stance against the ninjas looks fantastic. At the same time, Peter's uncontrolled powers are allowing him to completely dominate his opponents. The trailer ends with a humorous but important lesson from Spider-Man. Action is great, but stretching is essential before any fight. It's a funny way to close out what is otherwise an intense trailer. Overall, this breakdown suggests that there may still be a major mystery hiding beneath the surface. Everyone is focused on Sadie Sink's character, but it feels like there's another important secret the movie is deliberately hiding. And honestly, that's a good thing. Some mystery should remain until release. Now the big questions are, is Sadie Sink playing Jean Grey, or is she someone else entirely? And are the events of Spider-Man Brand New Day happening at the same time as Doomsday? Those are the theories fans will be debating until the movie finally arrives.